Hello and welcome to First Coast Living. I'm Jordan Wilkerson, and today we're taking you inside the Cummer Museum to show you the collection brought to you by Thomas H. and Diane DeMell Jacobsen PhD Foundation. Join me. All right, now I'm with the collector and the co-curator. So we have Dr. Diane Jacobsen and Jonathan Stallman. Thank you both so much for having me today.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad you had a chance to take a look at the collection.
It is so vast and beautiful. So first off, I want to get into about the exhibition itself. American-made paintings and sculpture from the DeMell Jacobsen Collection. So tell us about it.
Right, so this is a show spanning 200 years of American history and art history by a diverse range of artists. And one of the remarkable things about this collection is you can look at it and there are masterpieces from every phase of American art history. So you can learn something from colonial times, early 20th century, all the way up until middle of the 20th century. So you'll see a wide range of works by a really diverse array of artists that really represents the diversity of who was making art in this country and what was being produced.
Really telling the story, right, of American history and culture. But you had to really fine-tune what you could bring in here, right, because the collection was so large.
We did. So Diane is an active collector, still buying as of
Sunday.
But for the show, we picked around 100 to make it. We kind of picked things that would survey the collection, would represent it well, would represent all different parts of American art history. But we had to pick about 100 of the nearly 300 paintings and sculptures in the collection.
And Dr. Jacobsen, what inspired you to start this collection?
Well, I've always loved art, and when I was a youngster, my mom used to take us to New York City, and my sisters wanted to look at art. My little sister became an artist and an art teacher.
Oh, cool.
My mom took us to the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Wow.
But I have to be honest with you, the reason I wanted to go to New York was I wanted to go to Horn and Hard Art, which was an automat, and you put a nickel in the slot, and you got something you weren't allowed to eat at home.
Uh-oh.
So you could get a big piece of chocolate cake. Ooh. And it was like magic, because no sooner did you take the chocolate cake out of the little device that they had, these little windows, that another one appeared.
Oh.
And we got 2 nickels. So going to Horn and Hard Art was really a treat. We were, not an affluent family, but my mom believed it was important to give us the experience. And I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I was mesmerized. I looked at the paintings of beautiful places that I had never been, and at the time thought I'd never get to see these places. And here we are today. Not only have we seen them, but we have the opportunity to share them with the rest of the country.
Now, as a youngster, like you were saying, did you ever imagine all of this?
No, I never did. Yeah, I never imagined that this is how I would spend my life and everything that I had to.
And you're a Ponte Vedra resident, right? What brought you to Northeast Florida?
Well, I was the IBM branch manager here in Jacksonville, and I had a number of customers, one of which was Thomas Jacobsen. He was a vice chairman of Barnett Banks when it was that name Barnett. Yeah. And he, as I have told several people, he was the toughest customer I ever had. So I married him.
Oh my gosh, I love that story.
Yeah, but so we were here, and I got transferred a number of times. I didn't date him when he was a customer. It was many years, many years later. And in fact, when I got promoted and I worked for the chairman of the board of IBM, I was, I'll admit, at that time, kind of a little impressed with myself. Here I was, a woman working for the chairman of the board of IBM.
Rightfully
with these
so.
Huge responsibilities.
Yes.
And I wrote to all my customers, and that is all my customers in Jacksonville, and said, if you're ever in New York, stop by and I'll introduce you to our chairman. And he was the only one who came.
Really? So you must have impressed him as well.
I guess so. Yeah.
Now, this what advice do you have for someone who is wanting to start their own art collection?
Well, I think the best thing you can do, which is what I did, and that is you start to go to museums, and you become a member, and you get on their collections committee if you can, and then you start to go to auctions and to galleries, and you study. I also recommend, which is something I did, is you take a course on art at the University of North Florida. And I had Dr. Elizabeth Hoyer, who taught American art at UNF. And I think I took every one of her classes. I also was lucky enough to ask her to help to write the catalog.
Wow.
And she took a sabbatical from her job at UNF, and she wrote diligently about 268 of the paintings and sculpture in the collection.
Wow.
And they are in the book American Made. So while the museum can't fit all of these things into their space, you can see the paintings and sculpture in the catalog. And most of the catalog photography was done by Doug Ang, who is a resident of Jacksonville and one of the most fabulous photographers you will ever find. He is superb, absolutely superb. So we worked very hard, but I also was blessed to have Joan Okovich on my staff, who majored in English at the University of North Florida, so there are no mistakes in the catalog. And also Heidi Smith, who also graduated from the University of North Florida.
Wow.
And Heidi had a specialty in photography as well. And you have to do a lot of alterations when you're finally trying to get these things into print.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then I had John Stuhlman, who helped because he was an editor as well as added so much to the contents of the catalog. And we had over 30 different people writing for the catalog. So it was really a pleasure to be able to put it together, and I thank John tremendously.
But I'd echo your advice too for young collectors. Back to the question.
Okay.
Original question was look. I mean, you just have to look and see as much as you can. Going to museums, going to galleries, talking to people. Don't be shy in asking questions.
Yeah, that is the most important. And studying, though. You really have to study.
Know what you're looking.
And what for every artist, though, what you need to look for is you need to study all of their repertoire, all of their paintings, to try to find out what was the most important time frame that they were painting, and then where were the masterpieces, where were the true masterpieces. And that only comes through study, working directly with a museum, having curators who help you to really differentiate between a decorative painting and a masterpiece. And that's the gift that museums give you. And that's the way to get started.
Beautifully said. I feel like I already learned a lot just talking to you right now, but if we want to learn a little bit more, Jonathan, what do you suggest?
Well, the show is traveling. As Diane mentioned, there's a wonderful catalog for it that you can get in the shop here at the Cummer, or you can order from the store of the museum where I work. The show is traveling, so if people for some reason aren't able to see it in the Cummer, they're out of town for the summer, it will go to the San Antonio Museum of Art and the Huntsville Museum of Art after it's been here. But the Cummer has a great website as well where you can learn more about the show itself. You can click on a link and watch videos about some of the works in the show and learn about all of the upcoming programs as well.
Wonderful. Well,
I will say, I don't know if we mentioned it before, that 51 of the works of art in the show have videos done by curators from around the country, including Holly Karras, who did 6, including John, who did 12. And you can sit in the comfort of your home, in your living room or wherever, and you can learn about American art and these paintings from the QR codes that are
I did
in
notice
the videos.
those.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's
And the link to this is on the website too. So
Great.
if you don't get it while you're here, you can go home and
Yeah.
Well, thank you for telling us about that too, because no, you hadn't mentioned that yet. So it was a pleasure talking to both of you
Thank you.
today, and beautiful collection that you have there. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
so
Thank you
much.
to the Cummer for showing it.
And if you'd like to see this interview again or get more information, you know you can head to our website as well.